And we begin with events in the Middle East, where Israel appears to be trying to gather international support following the Iranian airstrikes, but has not, so far at least, carried out any direct military action in response. Instead, Israel is calling for more sanctions on Iran, which itself has warned Israel against attempting any retaliation following those drone and missile attacks, which Iran says were a response to an Israeli attack on its diplomatic mission in Syria. Our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, has been sending us updates from Jerusalem.
Israel says it is now launching a diplomatic offensive. The Israeli foreign minister has written, he says, to 32 countries around the world, urging them to impose even more sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The foreign minister, Israel Katz, posted this on X, formerly Twitter, saying Israel that Iran has to be stopped now before it is too late. And that is the message that's also being sounded by leading senior military officials here in Israel, including the Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi. He said that Israel would have to respond. He made the comments by visiting the Nevatim air base in southern Israel, where some of Iran's missiles did actually hit in the early hours of Sunday morning, although Israel says there was limited damage. Israel says only a handful of missiles actually got through of the 350 suicide drones and cruise and ballistic missiles which were fired by Iran. Iran says its retaliatory strike was in response to Israel's attack on its diplomatic compound in the Syrian capital Damascus on April the 1st. Iran's foreign minister Amir Abdullahian has reiterated that message in a telephone conversation with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, saying that Iran acted in legitimate self-defense. Iran, too, is calling for restraint, saying it doesn't want this to escalate into a wider war. We're going to look at the peril in this moment, but just to remind you that this tension takes place in the midst of the ongoing Israel-Gaza war. It's the 193rd day of war. And today there are reports of fighting in the Gaza Strip, and most particularly in Bet Hanun in the northeast. There are also reports that more aid is now getting into Gaza from the north. We're getting reports on the ground, and that is what Israel's saying. That news is being greeted with relief. For many, many weeks now, aid agencies have been warning that more than half of the population of Gaza is facing acute hunger. Well, let's now cross to the Qatari capital Doha to join Mehran Kamrava, who is the director of the Iranian Studies Unit at the Arab Center for Research and Policy Studies. Welcome to BBC News.
Thank you, Lise. Good to be here.
Of course, you are following every twist and turn of this escalating crisis between Israel and Iran. How would you describe this particular moment?
Well, the Israelis crossed the red line by attacking Iran's diplomatic compound in Damascus. And then the Iranians crossed another red line by attacking Israeli soil. And so we're at a very precarious, in fact, dangerous moment where we're likely to see an Israeli retaliatory strike for Iran's retaliatory strike. And so the vicious cycle is likely to continue, unfortunately.
This moment seems to underline the dangerous differences in perception. Iran is saying this was a very limited, a very calibrated strike. It caused limited damage. For Israel, of course, it was a reckless strike which breached its security, and there must be a retaliation. And that is what is going to fuel this conflict, is it not?
Absolutely. And in fact, I think we do see that the Iranians did hold back. They had to somehow retaliate for the attack on their embassy compound. And so as far as they're concerned, deterrence has been reestablished. And now they're saying that if Israel attacks Iran again, or Iranian interests or personnel, there will be more of this kind of retaliatory strike. Of course, Netanyahu's political predicament inside Israel don't allow for restraint. And we've seen Netanyahu have a penchant for overreaction. He's also under pressure from the right flank of his own cabinet. And so, unfortunately, as you mentioned, we're at a precarious and very dangerous moment.
Indeed, and the speculation now seems to be that even though there are disagreements within the war cabinet, and we are hearing that the cabinet may meet again today, some of the former military generals saying we should retaliate now. Others saying let's build our international and our regional coalition first, because they are emphasizing that this coalition, the support Israel is receiving at this moment, that matters too.
Absolutely, and also crucial is the support that the United States will give to Israel, both diplomatically and militarily. And we've heard very loud and clear messages coming out of Washington that the United States would not assist Israel on an attack on Iranian soil. And so I think that's also given some pause to Israeli military commanders. Do they really want to go it alone, knowing that Iran has this so-called axis of resistance that it can activate when it feels very threatened?
Mehran Kamravat, thank you very much. It's always good to hear your perspective. No doubt we'll hear from you again as this crisis continues to unfold. And as I mentioned during that discussion, that we are hearing reports that the War Cabinet will meet again today. This will be its third meeting since that unprecedented attack in the early hours of Sunday morning. What is absolutely clear is that Israel has decided it will respond, but will it retaliate by attacking Iran directly? That would also be unprecedented after decades of a shadow war and covert operations. Will it attack some of Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, or even indeed in Yemen? Or will they wait and build a coalition? These are questions which matter, and they matter to the future stability at this region in the midst of what is already a very, very volatile time.
As our world affairs correspondent Lise Doucette there with the latest lines from the Middle East.